No. I actually had a diagnosis of MS recently, and it was really hard. And I just wanted to tell a little bit of that story. So there's been a big comedy, but we're actually going to talk a little bit about that, and also try and look at some of the funnier sides and also the serious sides of that. So if you could bear with me. And I didn't quite know how to tell the story. I didn't know if I wanted to tell the story. And because I was actually a bit worried about how to tell the story, I've actually written it down. And so I'm going to read it out because it's my show and fuck you all. No. But no, I actually want to share my actual thoughts. So if you could bear with me while I read some of this tonight. Once again, excessive, but I love it. In late September last year, I woke up early on a Saturday morning and I stumbled across the room. I didn't think twice about it. I put it down to having a big night out the night before and my floor being messy, and there was nothing new to those two things. I then headed out to play golf. I should add, I'm a golf nerd. I'm originally from Melbourne, and there's a reason. Melbourne has a whole lot of storm water drains that feed into a thing called the Port Phillip Bay. And so whenever there are heavy rains, those storm water drains deliver large quantities of dead cats and syringes. And because Port Phillip Bay is so large and it has such a narrow head, those dead cats don't leave Port Phillip Bay, so the next time there's heavy rains, there were delivered more dead cats and more syringes. So as a child, I didn't swim very much. But also, if you're visiting Melbourne, please do not swim unless you like dead cats. And if you do like dead cats and swimming with them, go for your life. There's a lot of them. And that explains why I like golf, because the beaches were so shit. So I play golf every Saturday is a very long-winded way of saying that. And so I play golf and I do competitions, and I'm just a dork, and I did that. And we start every morning, Saturday morning. This was a 2-day comp, and 7:30 we played. I actually played all right. It was like a club championship. And the first day, finished at midday, was going fine, and then got home, but then I got a headache and got super tired and slept all day. And I don't normally get a headache and sleep all day, and then I slept all night. But I woke up the next day and I was feeling refreshed, and so I did the golf because it was 2-day round, and it went fine. In fact, I ended up being the B grade raw score runner-up, which is not a Canberra adult film title. It's actually a golf thing, apparently. I don't know, I could know. But same thing, I played well, but actually I just collapsed at the end of the day. Basically got a headache. I don't normally get headaches, tired, slept. And then on Monday morning, because it was Sunday, Monday morning go to work and I get some pins and needles around my lips. And like any good Aussie male, I think, that's normal, surely. And so I just go to work and have a great day, it's fine. And then on the Tuesday morning, a little bit more pins and needles, goes a little bit higher, and then I go to work and I go via another organisation that I help out with. I had to sign some documents, and they told her, and she said, you should probably go to the doctor. And I said, I'll do it later, whatever, yeah. And so I then get to work, so I just go to work and continue. Now I've got my entire left half of my face is numb and got pins and needles. Like any good Aussie man, just press on, it's all good. And then within about an hour, I lost my eyesight. Going, that's not good. And I turned to my mate Alex and said, that's normal, isn't it? No, let's take you to the hospital. So that's what they did. So, and they did a fantastic job. And my mate drove me to the hospital and straight into ER. And originally they ran a battery of tests, and so they thought it might have been stroke or tumours, but it wasn't. So that's awesome. And then because it wasn't that, they then put me in a ward to find out what it was. And so I'll just, here it is. And so they gave me to a neurologist. And I'm not allowed to say his name for confidentiality reasons, so we'll call him Dr. Alvaro Severa. Because that's his name. It's my confidentiality, so fuck him. No, but He's amazing and he saved my life. I'm going to talk more about that later. But he was the one who basically had charge of my care. And so they ran a whole lot of MRIs, if you know them. They're like a brain scan. And it came back with a whole lot of plaque. And I've always been embarrassed about my dental hygiene, and I apologised profusely. And he said, no, it's in your brain fluid, and it's demyelinated myelin. That's the sheeting of your thing, which does the conductivity of your brain messages, and it's floating around there, and it shouldn't be. And I said, does that mean I just use an electric toothbrush and brush my brain? He said, you're an idiot. What are you talking about? I didn't really understand much about it. So he said, you're going to have to stay here for a bit. We're going to give you a whole lot of steroids. Now, I'm not sure if anyone's ever done cocaine, but it's exactly like that. You think you're fantastic. And I sent because I'd come straight from work, I had my laptop, I sent 400 emails that day. I don't know what was in one of them, but I felt fabulous. But it was literally like you're invincible. It's not ideal. But, steroids is not a drug. You're just not in control of stuff. And then they came up to me and said, and by the way, can you not make any major purchases or life decisions when you're on steroids? Because when people do, they often buy convertibles and join gyms or buy gyms. And I said, no, it's all good. I'm entirely happy with my $9,000 purchase of mixed lollies. But don't worry, I mainly got the candied teeth and chocolate freckles because that's where the money is. And Dr. Severa said, you're a fucking idiot, can I take your credit card? And did. They then let me outside, where they treated me, and to go outside, back home. But I wasn't 100, I didn't fully respond to the treatment, but I was like 80% better. But they said, and I probably didn't listen too well, and I tried to get really fit, and I'm from Darwin. Darwin's quite hot. And so I was like doing push-ups and jogging and other things, and apparently that's not good for MS. And so within about 4 weeks, everything started going to shit again. The eyes got worse, my legs started dragging, it was not cool. And like any good Aussie, no, I did call. And I went to the hospital and they did more things and they found a lot more stuff and it's new lesions and stuff. They said, this is not good, we need to put you on the meds. But they did, so it was a bit awkward because it was during COVID. And because of the vaccine, they couldn't start my meds because apparently the meds would counteract the vaccine and they said you're more likely to die of COVID than MS, so you have to wait. So it was shit. So I had 3 months where I could only see about 5 or 10 metres, my family was away, but this is where I just wanted to thank everyone. I had a lot of beautiful people. I had people dropping off Luxes and food and just helping me and taking out for coffee. And I felt very alone and vulnerable. And it was great to have all these people helping me. And we had lots of beautiful things. And the thing I partly wanted to share was that one of the, and because I had to delay my medicine, I decided to take 6 months off comedy because I got a day job. Well, I do lots of comedy at night, and if I just take 6 months off and get healthy, that's a good thing, because I was actually working full time, and so that was also, but working from home, so it was okay. But something beautiful happened, and it was that a lot of my comedian buddies all got together, because I said, I'm going to take 6 months off. And so we had about 20 or 30 comedians all got together in a room, not dissimilar size to this. Happy, yes, if you know Darwin, most of you don't, so it's completely irrelevant to all of you, that's okay. But it's a beautiful little room, and they got together and they all one by one stood up and said horrible things about me, and they did character assassination, and they absolutely took the piss out, and we called that a comedy roast. And in that moment of what everyone was doing, I felt more loved as they threw barbs at me and everything about me that I'd ever done than I'd ever felt before. Because it was, people looking after each other, and it was absolutely beautiful. I really want to sort of thank that mob. I also want to throw a couple of other thank yous. Obviously, Dr. Severa for looking after me. He was amazing, and he might not have the world's best patient manner. He might not ever talk to me. No, he does, but he never talks to me about, ask me anything about myself, but he's an amazing clinician. And he cares about me as a specimen. And that means something. I also want to thank all the scientists in the world. Like, this sounds crazy, and we've had it with a pandemic, but very few people shout out scientists. Like, my health, like, this drug is this Uber drug, and it worked for me. Well, clearly, I've got a few issues, but by and large, I woke up very soon after that comedy roast, and I could see again. And I'm like 95%, without symptoms, and the other ones are manageable, and that's amazing. And for 3 months, I wasn't like that. I'd also like to thank a couple of other people as well. I'd like to thank my dietitian, and I'm working on reducing my KFC intake, but it's a process. And the 3-piece feet is an improvement, so let's just tick that one off. Fuck you, Kevin. No, he's gorgeous. I also want to do a big shout out to my physio, Eloise. Now, Eloise is gorgeous. And my other big symptom is I can't exercise for more than about 5 or 7 minutes without getting dizzy and overheating. So I have to have this really designed small increment stuff. And Eloise is the best. And she said, "What are you into, Will?" And I said, "Well, when I was a kid, I really liked breakdancing. And I love dancing full stop, and I'm quite a good crumper." And she said, "Well, we can work with that." She actually did YouTube tutorials on how to learn breakdancing so we could do 3 to 7 minute break-offs, which was amazing. Like, she did that for me. And she got very good. She's a clip bitch. And she would beat me by the end of it. And she also, at the tail end of it, this is what she said. She's a bit sassy. She said, "Oh yeah, well, it's actually not too bad that you got 5 to 7 minute, exercise intervals, because it'll completely not interfere with your sex life, because you only go for 2. I love her to bits. She's absolutely fantastic. And I also want to put a big thank you to my mentor, Nirmal. Now, Nirmal reached out to me when I wasn't feeling too good. I look up to Nirmal. She developed MS in her 40s. And back then, the drugs weren't so good. She had to take them every day, and she'd have good and bad days, and then they had 3 days, and then she would have 1 good day and 2 bad days. Now, I'd take them once every 6 months, and they worked, and she doesn't have that. She raised 3 kids, and she was diagnosed in her mid-40s. She's a doctor, and she's always helping others, and she's my hero. She passed away last week. That's really shit. She taught me some things. And sometimes people don't teach things with words, but she actually taught me, and she showed me what she did. She said, "You always got to help others." And the other thing she showed me was you've always got to be grateful and cherish everyone. And the other thing she taught me is you've got to be kind to yourself and everyone. I just want to dedicate this to her. And thanks for coming. I know it's a weird way, but